Hi guys, welcome to the latest podcast of YarninBlak. Today I've got a great friend of mine on, Sydney. I'll introduce you to them in a minute. But first I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're calling in from. I'm here in Baldwin Q on the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I want to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. And I want to acknowledge any other Aboriginal people that have joined us today, including my wonderful guest, Sydney. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing, AJ?
I'm fine. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
And we might just start off with just letting anyone know who you are and where you're from.
Sure. So I'm Sydney. I'm a proud Yiman Noonuccal woman from South-East Queensland. I grew up on Cubby Country, little ways north of Brisbane. Cubby, Ginninborough country there. Woodford would probably be the closest landmark some people might be familiar of. I grew up in a small country town there, and definitely miss home being in Melbourne. Melbourne here is a big place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in Melbourne?
Oh, good question. Probably 8 years now, maybe going on 9. It's been a minute.
Yep. What made you move down?
University, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a bit of a nerd in school and did a lot better than what I was expecting. I applied to the University of Melbourne as a joke.
Yep.
And the joke was on me because I actually got a full scholarship and they invited me to come down. So me and my family over the moon.
Yep. Awesome.
One of the first in my community to get a degree.
Yeah. So when you were one of the first to finish year 12 as well?
Well, actually, my mum and my auntie both finished year 12.
Okay,
which was amazing. Grandma didn't get the opportunity to go to school, and my dad didn't even make it to high school. Despite having the opportunity, he elected not to go forward with that. So, yeah, all me, my brother, my cousins, we all finished school, which was really good. And they're all tradies now, doing all sorts of beautiful practical work.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I found myself in a different space.
Yeah. So what made you get into genetics?
Oh, big question. I actually came down to do engineering because I was a bit of a math and physics nerd. But I really liked my biology. I quite liked the idea of going into biomech. Was going to be my plan, or biochem engineering. Started to do the course and actually hated it. It was nowhere near as practical as I thought it was going to be. It was too much theory for me.
Yeah.
I want something I can, if I can't see it, I want it to make sense. And it didn't do either of those things for me, but I really did end up enjoying the biology. So I tried anything and everything biology except genetics, because I had a biology teacher in high school who her primary qualification was in genetics. She was not a good human, or she was probably a good human. She wasn't a good teacher.
Yeah.
Great phys ed teacher, loved her physical education. That's what she was there to do. Genetics was not.
Yeah.
And she didn't really like the fact that she had to use that qualification. It showed. So I actively was like, I'm not going to do that because clearly it doesn't draw the best people.
Yeah.
And I tried everything and anything else, and then eventually genetics was all that was left, and I really liked it.
Yeah. So what exactly is your job and what do you do?
Gorgeous question. So I actually answer this sometimes on a daily basis.
Yep.
So I'm a genetic counselor, and that's a little bit like how it sounds. I'm trained in genetics, so I've got the science, health know-how, and then I'm trained in the communication side, the counselling. So I put those two together. I'm able to digest information from the doctors, from the research, etc., bring it and give it to a person in a way that's going to be meaningful for them. Doesn't matter if you've got a PhD, doesn't matter if you didn't finish or even go to school, and then everything and anything in between. I'm just a qualified yarner, I like to say.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm a health communicator is another way of putting that.
Yeah. How are Aboriginal people that you've seen in the hospital, how do they manage genetic testing? Is it something that's a lot of Aboriginal people are doing?
I wish we were seeing more mob come through because it can be quite helpful, particularly when someone's got diagnosis and they're looking for more opportunities. I work primarily in the space of cancer, and they're looking for more treatment options. Testing can be quite helpful. It can also help give the family an answer that they wouldn't have otherwise had. But like a lot of specialty services, we don't see mob get this far because they're not getting the baseline health they need. And a lot of, sadly to say, a lot of clinicians and a lot of doctors just think, oh, that wouldn't align with your cultural values, I'm not going to refer you,
Yeah.
without even talking to us, kind of thing.
Which is pretty sad, really, isn't it? Especially if we're looking at prevention. And, we know that most Aboriginal people turn up to like the hospital when something's infected, sore, pussy, and enlarged. And then they're often diagnosed in later stages. So this would be a really good way of finding out what some of the conditions are at an earlier age as well.
Yeah, give people a head start and give them opportunities to be able to, screen and make different choices based on that information.
Yeah. I mentioned Aboriginal people coming to hospital. What makes you feel culturally safe about going to a health service or any service?
Um, I had actually thought about this a lot when I moved to Melbourne, just because, we've got one doctor back home and
Yeah.
everyone knows what's going on with everyone. Versus like here, I actually did have to do a bit of looking around to find a place where I felt comfortable. Um, and I've always kind of taken the approach that I feel confident enough to make a space safe. I just need to find a good person or good people. So the GP practice that I go to, they didn't have any flags out front. They didn't have any of our words or anything to show that we're welcome.
Yeah.
We're able to gain care there. But I just heard from word of other people that they do look after people there. It doesn't matter where or who or what have you. I booked myself an appointment, put forward that I was Indigenous and that I might have different care needs. My first appointment, my GP actually approached it in a yarning style.
Oh, awesome.
She's gorgeous. She's still my GP to this day, 5 years later. But yeah, she did that work before I came to the appointment. As far as she was aware, bearing in mind there wasn't anything to show that it was a safe place for us, as far as she was aware, she hadn't seen an Indigenous patient before. She was from another place.
Yeah.
So she did that work before we met, and she's one of those GPs that does the work, and I appreciate that. And now the service looks quite different.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. Do you think that cultural safety is something that most Aboriginal people worry about before they go to a service?
I don't think that's necessarily the language a lot of people use. I learnt that phrase.
Yeah.
But I do think it's something that's on the forefront of the mind, right? There's all sorts of reasons why people can be dismissed in healthcare. Being mob is unfortunately one of them.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see how it would be one of the first things on the mind, if not almost the only thing, aside from what they actually need help with. And the hope is that they actually get to that point where they can get help, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got another question for you. Reconciliation's a word that gets thrown around a lot. What does reconciliation mean to you?
I think it's a commitment to making steps in the right direction, to working together.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people kind of just view it as something that you put forward for a week, a year, and then
It becomes a bit of a tick box kind of activity.
yeah.
Yeah. Look, growing up in Queensland, obviously it was a lot warmer up there. Yes. Um, so what? I'm not sure what school you went to, but while you're at school, how much Aboriginal issues were talked about at school?
Oh, heaps. But that's only because, like, strong community
Yeah,
and people putting forward that this needs to be known, this needs to be shared, we need to do this work. So, like, even when I was little, being a black fella in disguise, people would go, "Hey, you're not mob," but obviously they weren't mob, so they weren't going to know.
yeah,
And then I'd come home all upset, and my grandma would be like, "Right, I'm coming to the school," and she'd like sit down and teach all the kids how to do like traditional painting,
yeah,
or just like have a yarn about, and share some of our stories. Um, and then that just became like commonplace. Either my grandma or my mom or my auntie, they'd turn up every now and again and be like, "Right, this is what we're going to do." When we got into like year 7, I come home all upset. No, it must have been year 5, sorry.
okay,
I'd come
primary
home
school.
all upset, and mum's like, "Okay, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "They told me that Cook discovered Australia, and I put my hand up and said we were here first, and the teacher said that was wrong." And mum's like, "Right." So came in and did like a workshop
Shop.
teaching our history,
Yeah,
not the fake history.
yeah. Sounds like both your mum and your grandma are really like pioneer kind of women in terms of culture and getting it in there, getting it out.
A lot of strong women in my family. Yeah, I'm very, very appreciative, and I definitely do take that to heart. That's why if a space isn't safe, I'm going to make it safe. It's not something we should have to do, and it's not something I expect of other people. It shouldn't have to be our work as mob, it should be everyone's work.
Yeah,
But I'm definitely one of those people who's going to get in there and do it.
yeah. So when you got to Melbourne, was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some things were really comfortable.
yeah,
Like, I love how much of an international presence is in Melbourne. Like, I remember we used to have cultural days at school, and like there was so many mob at school because we were just down the mountain from a mission, so there was a good number of mob at the school. We also had a bunch of kids from the Philippines.
yeah,
So when we had cultural days, we'd be there teaching, different language words and that. So the kids from the Philippines would be, "Oh, we'll teach you Tagalog," and they're like, "Oh, I'll teach you a bit of cubby cubby." But that happened outside of that. It
yeah,
wasn't just on those days, right?
yeah,
So I always had an appreciation for other places, because I often find we have more in common with people from other places than what we do people who claim to be from this place but are not known by this place.
yeah. That makes sense.
Whereas people who come from another place take the effort to know the place, and if they're lucky, do get to become known by the place. So that was incredibly comforting. I made a lot of friends very quickly. But I also found I was facing a lot of the same issues they were as well, which in some ways was comforting and other ways was atrocious, because there shouldn't be these barriers in place.
Yeah.
And
So,
then just getting connected in with local mob was really helpful too.
yeah. So when you first arrived, what's some things that did shock you?
I think people are really different about how they approach when things don't seem to align with their way of seeing the world, right? Like, I feel like back home, if it's racism or whatever other ism it is, people will say it
Yeah,
so that you know that that person has those beliefs and thoughts and
yeah,
what have you, and they're probably not your person. But down here, a lot of that's it's up here. It's not out here, and later it's shown in action, and it's a lot more subtle up until that point.
yeah. That's a really good observational thing that you came up with then, and I don't think I've heard anyone ever say that before. But I think that was like You articulated that really well. I really like that. When you got to uni, how much Aboriginal issues were taught at uni in relation to your subjects?
None. I did go looking for it because I felt I needed it.
Yep.
I did do a subject called Aboriginality Studies. It was not led by Indigenous people. There was some consultation.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who were in the course, it was a compulsory because they were visiting from another place.
Yeah.
They were doing a summer or winter abroad.
Yep.
So there were some other mob, which was great because it meant that we did have support in each other. And the course was aware that people are either going to be from other places or they're going to be Indigenous, so they might need additional support. But actually it was really challenging, and it was still told from the colonial lens largely.
Yeah.
And then I did see more later when I did my second degree. But that was because I did that work. I gave a couple of talks and had a couple of sessions and wanted to put forward cultural safety because it was it's a part of just navigating our health systems. But I also had an opportunity to go ahead and do my own research in the area. So I wanted to have a look at cultural safety too.
Yeah, awesome.
More formally. So I got to bring that to the course.
Oh, that's good. And is it now in the course as a permanent thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Prior to that point, there had been a little bit about cultural safety. Cultural competency, my bad.
Yeah.
And it was starting to move toward cultural safety, but they didn't quite know how to do it. So that was awesome. And they actually went looking for me.
Oh, okay. Good.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they'd realised that we didn't have an Indigenous genetic counsellor.
Yeah.
So they put together a scholarship to support someone who wanted to go through the space because they realised it's largely inaccessible.
Yeah.
I turned up and was like, hey, I like genetics, but I want to talk to people. And they were like, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
So a bit of trial and error.
Yeah. Question, how often do you get home?
These days, once or twice a year.
Okay, yeah.
Which is not as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
But that's just work, and hey.
Yeah. So quickest way to get back to country, is it flying from Melbourne to where?
Brizzy. And then
Brizzy?
2 hours north.
Oh, cool. Cool.
So not too far at all.
No, it's not too far at all. It's only a 2 hour plane trip as well. That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah.
When I was in uni, I'd get home like during them big breaks. There was room in the scholarship to support me going home, which was really good.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
So I at least got 4 months every year where I was home, and I was getting that recharge so I could come back strong.
Yeah. So a question I ask everyone that I interview is, if I had $1 trillion and a magic wand, right? And I'm going to see Wicked tonight, so I know all about wands. But if we can actually give you a magic wand and actually go, hey, you can fix anything that you want in Aboriginal issues, where would you start? What would you do?
I don't think money would necessarily do this, but I just want people to listen.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like if there was like, you get $100 every time you listen to an Indigenous person, like, if I reckon.
Whoa. Okay. We're paying them to listen to us now.
But if we're giving money, right? But if we're just waving a wand, I'd just be like, I just want people to listen.
Yeah. Okay.
But people don't, hey.
No. Do you think that
would
people...
fix so many issues in healthcare.
Do you think people don't want to, or they don't have time, or they're just not interested, or they're not sure what they don't know?
From a health perspective, and knowing that you've done social work, AJ, have you ever opened up a medical textbook?
I have, because I was a nurse as well. So
right, you did nursing too.
yeah,
we're not there.
no.
women often aren't there as well, and all sorts of other people aren't there. So it's not that they don't want to listen or not want to know how to look after us.
Yeah.
They've just never been, I guess, given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And the way the system is designed, there's no time and care for anyone, largely, unless you're one of those people who fits neatly in that textbook.
Yeah.
And even then, you've got to pay for that privilege.
Yeah.
Like, healthcare doesn't have enough care as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think that, I often say it this way, but a lot of mob mental health literacy is low, health literacy is low, and in some cases, literacy is low. And they're the three things that you kind of need in order to be able to understand what the signs and symptoms are of any condition. But when do I notice that this stuff's not normal, and when should I go to the doctor? When should I involve the doctor or the hospital? And it's often when, as I said, when something's infected, sore, pussy, or enlarged, and shit, I need help right now, and they turn up in crisis, and then we're responding as health professionals to Aboriginal people in crisis. So we need to move from a reactive framework into a proactive framework.
Agreed. And I'm always on everyone's case back home. I go, you need to know your GP's name. You need to know who and how they are as a person outside of that space. And you need to be seeing them regularly enough to know that. So then when and if something goes wrong, they know you the same way. And then you can get the help you need.
Yeah.
So I'm always on everyone's case. You got to at least go to the doctor once a year, do a general health check.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because for a lot of mob, when they turn up in crisis, we deal with the crisis, or if something's in pain, we give them something to resolve the pain. But then they may not come back for that follow-up appointment because we fixed whatever was wrong with them at the time. If it was painful and it's not sore, they're not coming back. If it was pussy, it's not pussy anymore, they're not coming back. So it's important to explain to mob that we want to see you while you're in good health as well. Especially for things like diabetes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just watching the time, and I know that you're a really busy person, but I've got a final question to ask you. Yeah, a final question to ask you, and that is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? What would you be doing?
Oh, great question. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Because I'm in the process of certification and thinking what my career as a genetic counsellor could look like, but also where I want to be and who I want to be with. So I'm giving myself something to work toward, and the plan is I would love to be a FIFO genetic counsellor.
Okay, yep.
Or a FIFO genetic educator. Maybe there isn't necessarily a role for FIFO genetic counselling. Appreciating now the service can be provided virtually.
Yeah.
But I would like to basically just kind of like roam around, going to community, talking to people about this so people can gain the knowledge they need to be able to advocate for themselves and for their family and for community. So these spaces aren't as inaccessible.
Yeah. I wish you luck with that, and I think that you could do that. I could see you in traveling around yarning with everybody and collecting stories that you can kind of bring back and helping people. And I like how you said before, like part of the counselling is to get people to understand and maybe give answers to families as well, because there's so many unanswered questions sometimes.
Well, that's it. I do view myself as a storyteller, and our DNA, it does hold stories, and our ways with our kinship systems, we hold on to a lot of those stories. That's how our education works, and how we learn and grow is understanding the past. But in the Western system, that's not the case. And of course, appreciating all that has happened, so much has been taken.
Yeah.
So reading DNA as a way of giving stories back, giving information and knowledges back to people, as well as hearing today's story, because that comes into things too.
Yeah, that's true. Final question, and that is, what would you like people to walk away with from our yarn today?
Oh, that's another big question. Like for mob or for like health people? Like who's this?
Anybody who's listening.
Gosh, that's big. I guess just that like communication is everything. Like, you know, people will say communication is key and they'll use that word communication. It's just storytelling. It's just being open to sharing and being open to being shared with. You know, we all have a story. We all have people who, you know, walk behind us, walk with us, help us be who we are and how we are. And that, yeah, people just need to be more receptive to people. You know, we have a lot of people who are lost for that very reason. So
yeah,
I think that applies well in health too.
Yeah. Look, I want to say thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I love the work that you do. And I just want to say thank you. And guys, I want to say thank you and see you at the next podcast. So I'll see you then. Bye.